All right, y'all. What up? What up? Bankroll Tim bedded up. These Ruchis going on this Skylark. Here's what we got going on. So, I got the drop boxes on there. Again, I'm having a little bit of problems with my welder. I mean, it's still penetrated, but not as perfect as I wanted it. You can see right here, this actually went pretty good. Boom, but the rest of them on here kind of look shitty. I welded down this side, then I welded this side, and I went too far, overlapped it, blah, blah. But like I said, I ain't got nothing on it. It's all penetrated though. The end is on here. Try to get some light on this, but that's pretty smooth. Just where I tacked it. And then I went up here and welded down, and welded down the other side, and then welded the bottom. But it's pretty good. Penetration, it's there. So, what we got going on is the super drop boxes are on there, lower control arms are on there, upper control arms are staying, those are the ones that were on here, but I'm changing those bushings on the housing. I squared up the rear end, did all that, and you can see the cross brace is up in there. The tabs are welded on there. The bar is painted. I painted it all the other day. But yeah, back to this bolt-in, weld-in coilover setup. Obviously, it takes bolts to bolt the coilover in, but we're talking a stock location shock mount. So here's the piece I cut off the frame, right? Now, as you can see, and as you can hear, this is very, very, very thin. Even though it welds to the frame, you know, it's all welded in there. Listen, this is one of the shock bolt holes. So, the car is made from the factory for this shock to go from, you know, back here down to wherever it hooks to the housing. So, shock, and then your spring, coil spring from there to the coil spring perch that would be on the rear end. So, the weight is focused more on the spring pad towards the front, which is way more structure. So it's a lot stronger up here. Now think about all the way back here of where the shock was. Now you're putting a coil over. So now this back area is holding the weight of the car and the shock, you know what I'm saying? So it's really flimsy back here. Another reason, bolt-ins are garbage. Then, you know, weld-in coilover setup goes straight up and down. There's the tabs up there, straight up and down. All the pressure is here, and it's on this bar. This bar is welded to the frame on both sides. Boom. This can handle the weight. It doesn't give you no extra bounce, extra flex, nothing. When you're bolt-in, you get all types of shit, and that's why it broke that shock setup. So yeah, there's another pointer on weld-in is always better to go than bolt-in. All that bracketry, like I was saying, yeah, I know you guys are like, oh, well, somebody was like, oh, look, it's got tons of adjustment. Oh, it's got tons of adjustment. No. This setup, none of this stuff is made for big wheels, so you got to go higher with the car in order to put the big wheels. Again, you guys don't have to put anti-seize that thick on there, and put a little bit when the collar is preset to where you're at, and just drag a little bit on there. You don't have to cake it on there like that. But so yeah, you got this set up. Let's see, this was bolted which way? This one was bolted. This is passenger side. All right, and it might be driver's side, whatever. No, it's passenger side. Like this. So you can flip these around, which changes height a little bit here. You got these other holes, boom. But there's really not shit for adjustment. Really, there isn't. So then you gotta take the spring, you gotta tighten the collar up. Boom, 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 boom. To put more load onto the spring to get it where you want. Then, the more you compress that spring, the tighter the rate of the spring goes, the stiffer the ride. So then the knob really ain't gonna be doing your shit. Somebody was asking, well, why do I like QA1 or Viking over QA1? I've said it before. One knob for the basic setup of QA1s, where you get two knobs on Viking. Yes, same internals, this and that. Vikings is supposed to be the daughter of QA1, this, that, whatever. These rubber bushings like this, more flex. You don't want all that flex. So So you do the solid joints. So yeah, there's on the coilovers. Back to the rear end setup. I got the anti-roll right here, which is an undermount anti-roll. Because like I said, undermount anti-rolls are best for A-bodies because A-bodies are so tight. I should get a light and put it up here. All this area back here is just so tight. And then you got the back of the housing, and then wherever you put that anti-roll, and how far it's gonna squat. They like to touch there, and it's just a pain in the ass on an A-body because you don't have shit for room. When the coilover's on here, it's close to the gas tank, it's close to the bracket here, but the rear end is about a ½ inch too far back for the 24s. So on 26s, this is basically where everything would sit. Narrowing bar, the pucks, yeah, they've been dropped, they've been beat up, stuff like that. The inner one right here, which I forget what this side's for, but the 9-inch end is in there, it's all squared up, boom. Well, looks like there's a little bit of gap up there, but it's within. You know, nothing's ever 100% perfect. This side, again, with the weld, you can see that I tacked. That was my tack area, but it's filled in. But then you see up there, oh, well, let me, there you go. On the bottom, boom. Some dirt spots. Narrowing bar, narrowing pucks, the pucks going inside, you know, the main caps. That keeps the rear end completely true, square, bam. When we were looking at this rear end before, and you can see it in the other videos, it looks like the rear end tubes were bent way up. Well, I had so much caked on debris underneath, so it was a darker look to the inside edges, which was given the effect that it was bent. The axle tubes were bent. This is a pretty big tube housing. As you can see, the end went on. It's just a pinch taller up here, which does show that, you know, this did bend a little bit. I mean, for the most part, it's there. It's good. So it's not bent like I originally thought, and I originally thought these were leaking because it was bent. So these I gotta clean out real good and put some more, weld the shit out of it and then grind it. So when I'm done, you probably won't even see where the two plug welds were. Same thing this side. And there's a lot less on this side. There's big holes. That's plug weld, that's how the tube goes into here, plug welded. I'm still gonna clean this up and fucking weld it. You see all these numbers on here, boom, boom, boom. So I measure off this inside edge all the way to the original outside edge. Measure the axle, whatever the axle is, whatever I'm gonna go shorter, take that off, boom. Then take off the measurement of this, which is 2 3/8 with the housing end. This is a 9-inch housing end. Now it's a bolt in. Now it takes a nice big bearing. I know I was showing it on some shorts, but now you got that big ass outer axle flange, out the bearing, everything. You know, so like I said before, I call it a half free. Got 8.5 center, got 9-inch outers. Now, yes, I don't do it all the time, but I've done it. Probably the first ones to do it back in the day with this setup. Taking a C-clip axle rear end and turning it into a bolt-in axle, which this one was a bolt-in axle to begin with. So here's the end. I think I ended up taking off 4 3/8, 4 and something. But this is the original bolt-in, and this is the original bolt-in axle. So, I mean, it's got a decent sized bearing, decent sized axle. 28 spline, original, but see how, yeah, see, no C-clip because it's bolt-in. So that collar, or whatever you want to call it, presses onto there. So you got to have your measurements right and shit like that. So when you take the axle out, you want to figure out. So basically, take the wheel, put the wheel on there. You can fit it on there, and you see how much it sticks out. Then you back measure it to see where you can go. Then you see how much is behind the tire to the frame. See how much you can go. Figure out your number. So let's say, boom, you need 3 inches shorter. So then when you pull the axle out, and the axle measures, 30 inches. You want to go 3 inches narrower on both sides. So 3 off that, 27. Now you got 27. Now, that housing end, you would take 3 inches out of the housing end. So you would take and make your first cut depending on where you're gonna place it, what's gonna clear what. Mock-up is always good, so that way you can clear the caliper and all that stuff, which I went in more with the boxes. This 36 on center, which is basically what the front is, so it's kind of like a straight square on the bottom with the lower control arms to the lower controller mounts of the car. The tops are on an angle, so it's still a triangulated 4-link, which is, you know, basic setups of GM. I've heard people say before, oh, it's horrible. No, it's not. Sway bars, anti-roll, stuff like that. When you guys get into those level 1, level 2, level 3 kits, and it's got that bolt-on sway bar setup, well, with putting the boxes in more and needing to narrow it more and stuff like that, you're gonna come into play of it being into here and then problems. So anti-rolls is the best out there. Anti-rolls. The little sway bars really don't hold the pressure of an anti-roll. Anti-rolls hold a lot of pressure. Keep the back end of the car planted nice and square. So back to this anti-roll. The anti-roll for the lower obviously has that big cup mount that goes underneath here that welds to the housing. So this Monday, when I received the rest of this, and it's just a simple mistake. So you got undermount anti-roll, got the links, got the link mounts, but what's not here? The cup mounts for the anti-roll are not here. And I didn't notice it until Wednesday when I wanted to get the anti-roll set up. Now this bar right here is the tube brace. This is 1.25 inches. That goes under how I do the curve from that box to the housing to there. So put a bend in it, boom, weld it in. I can't do that right now because I need to be able to get to the anti-roll pieces. But here it is Friday, and I'm not gonna see the anti-roll mounts until probably Tuesday. And again, simple mistake, but this is the stuff that happens. Obviously, whoever was packaging up didn't throw those in there. Everything was individually bagged. Like, you know, the spacers were in one bag. The links and the link rod ends were in one bag with the bolts. And then the anti-roll mounts right there with the bolts for that were in a bag. The two outer pieces for the anti-roll right there, the holders, the mounts, whatever, they were in their own bag. They're wrapped up in saran wrap. So, simple mistake. It's happened before, whatever. That's the things that happen. So now that slowed down the process of this. And it sucks, but it is what it is. You gotta deal with it. So I have the gear, which it had a 410, 411 in it. I'm taking that out, putting the 373 on it. So I meant to stop at the hardware store or whatever and get parts store and get some brake clean, but that's the nugget. So I got to get the 410 gear off of there. The bearings and all that stuff are all brand new, so that's all fine. On the center, so when I pull this pinion out, the new pinion will get a brand new, which I have over there in the box. Boom, brand new bearing kit. We'll get the bearing pressed onto the pinion. This one to me is just a little loose. I believe it's 15 to 18 pounds of rotating, which I have the torque wrench for that, but this spins very, very easy, so I think it didn't crush enough. But anyway, so the seal in the front and the bearing in the front, I'll be replacing those. The bearing that goes on the pinion, be replacing that, and roughly about a 32,000 shim. So what's gonna go on there, but I can get that switched. I need the brake clean to clean out the housing because all the grinding and all that stuff. Best way to clean out your tubes after you narrow, you can spray a little bit of brake clean in there. You don't want to get too much brake clean on the outside, because if you get the brake clean on the outside, when you go to paint it, rattle can, whatever, it reacts to it and like sucks all any type of gloss out of the paint. It makes it flat as shit, almost like a chalk. But take a tube, like a jack handle tube or something, jack handlebar, and wrap a rag around it and push it into the center. Push it into the center, and you'll get most of the shit to get out. You want to get all the metal shavings cleaned out, so that way you're not running metal shavings, you know, all through the gear and wearing the gear out and shit like that. So, gotta clean it out real good. So I'm gonna get that set up on the Skylark. Of course, I showed it already. The big brakes are on the front. We just haven't hooked up the lines yet. Nobody will see it, but we ended up scratching this because we had it on its face on the surface while we were doing, I forget exactly what we were doing, but it, you know, put a little scratch here, a little scratch there, but the wheel bolts on here. Everybody keeps saying stuff about the bleeders. It's like they don't pay attention. Like from this angle, you would think, oh, the bleeder's on bottom. Well, Willwood is smart, and they got bleeder, 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 bleeder. And even though this one has got an arrow on it pointing to the front, that's how you would put this one on. For some reason, they want it like that. I'm not exactly sure why. And it's got the 4 bleeders, or your basic housing, whatever. But there's bleeders on top, guys. Bleeders on top. So you got 4 corners right there, so that way you can mount the caliper, right side, left side, front, back, you know, back, front, whatever, da 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 da. So yeah, we just gotta, you know, still got the line hooked up here, which we're changing this line. So I didn't want the brake fluid and shit going all over the place, but I'll be able to take this off, put the nipple on there. It's still gonna, you know, spit some fluid out, but put the nipple on there to hold it. Get the line set up all on here, the fitting in here, the braided line on here, the little adapter, and then take this shit out, take the nipple off, put it together. This can stay on there because they clear on these cars. Somebody welded the inner to the frame, boogered it up. It was hitting. Like I said, these control arms do not correct geometry. That brand does not correct geometry. QE1 is what you want all day in the arms because it actually moves the wheel forward, degrees it back. Then you get a sport steering out of it, and it would clear all that. I mean, 24s on these cars, it really shouldn't be hitting there. And this tire is back farther than that one. And, you know, there's no adjustment to the lowers. So, yeah. All right. Let me think what else I got for y'all. This side, of course, totally on there. This one did not get scratched. I love the set screws. Everything is Loctite. It's all shimmed correctly. Should break in just fine. So it pushed me back a day or two on this. But yeah, we did get, obviously, the arms in red. Because he's got all the red stuff. So we went ahead. These are the 1 5/8" double adjustable. And if anybody doesn't know, if not sure what that is, you know, you got a heim joint on this side, right hand thread, you got a heim joint on this side, left hand thread. I always put the nut side towards the back, and when you go to jam these, you know, so this one, see which way I'm turning it. Normally this way would be loosening, this tightening, so that way you can adjust this, turn. So you bolt it in one time, you can turn to adjust fitment. But when you want to put these heim joints all the way in, the nuts all the way in, everything all the way in, set it in the car, then twist it to get it to fine tune it into here, so that way both sides move evenly. This is, all right, so where the rear end is right now, so that's where they have the upper set. Like I said, it's a full inch too far back, the wheel. So we can bring it, you only really need a 1/2 inch right here. So I can bring it forward that little bit more, give me clearance with the coilover and stuff. It doesn't hit, but I have adjustability there, and then pinion angle and stuff like that. So pinion right now is probably a positive. I mean, the camera's turned off. It's not that positive, but maybe like +2, maybe. So normally zero that out. So I need to make the upper shorter to bring the rear end forward. So I make both uppers shorter. Everything's square right now. So you take your measurement, which I think it's 10 3/8 or something, 10 1/4. Center of bolt to center of bolt. So now I'll shorten the top, which is gonna bring my pinion down. It's gonna bring my wheel forward. Boom. Bottoms, you know, center to center of the bolts again, and you'll see what you got it set at. You can double check both sides. When these went on, I used the degree wheel and all that, 90, 90. So that way all this would be the same. If you're off by a little bit, you always want to measure 3 different spots. So you can measure the arm, boom, you can measure a piece of the box to a frame hole or something on this side and that side, another spot. And if you get the same measurements on both sides 3 times, then boom, you're good. You can hang a level from the car down, square it out, plumb it out, whatever, and run a tape measure across, and you'll see if you got the rear end side to side, if it's square, or you can go off the end of the housing with like a 2-foot level. Again, make sure it's plumb, make sure your rear end's level, and then in your car, you gotta make sure the car is level on the lip, and then you can run the tape from there to the edge of the frame, whatever, and see what it says. This one is 4 1/4 on both sides with the level on here. Bam. Squared it all up. But yeah, bolt ends. I mean, that sounds, I mean, you can, it's not really, it's given more of a sound that it's heavy, but it's very, very thin, very, very light. I don't know, it's just, there's nothing there. And riding all that weight of that coilover on there in one spot on the top, that's the most flexible area of the back of the car on the frame side. No, not a good thing. This bolt-on sway bar. That's the bolt-on sway bar for those arms, back to the arms being solid. These arms are solid, so there's no adjustment. You bolt them in the car, you can't adjust shit. So let's say you bolt them in the car, the wheel looks like it's a little too far back, and you got a positive pinion, so then you would shorten the uppers to bring it forward, which would help you bring it forward and bring the pinion down. But sometimes you can have the uppers, you could have the pinion set at 0 and you'd still be too far away from here and you can't bring it forward because that arm is not adjustable. So stay away from the non-adjustable arms, even with street riding shit. Now, if you got 15-inch wheels, shit like that, blah, blah, tires, you know, rollouts, whatever, shit like that, 30s of Vogue, shit like that, you could do this, but there's just no point in this. The other stuff's fully adjustable. Double adjustable. Boom. All right, axles, control arms, bracing, housing ends. That little weak ass sway bar really don't do shit. It's almost like running nothing because it's so small. Let's see if this one's hollow or solid. It's solid, but I mean, come on, guys. That thing, I think, look, same size as my thumb. Not saying I got little ass thumbs, but that is 1 inch, I think. Weak. Yeah, so what the hell? I just got something on me. Oh, my daughter put a sticker on me earlier. It just came off on the floor. So yeah, that's what's going on here. I wanted to be able to get this thing buttoned up so that way I could get the cross member and the cutlass. And of course the frame is off to powder coat, CPC, Bryan Drive, and damn it, what name of the town? Lockport, no, not Lockport. Damn it, can't think right now. But anyways, that CPC powder coating, it's they're on IG, they're on Facebook, I believe. But the tubs to get ready into this, I'm going to cut all this double bracing support out of here and do my own. I'm gonna cut that, cap it off, because I'm still using that piece on the top of the frame, which is the rubber body bushing that goes there. It doesn't take a bolt, but it's just a rubber boom. So the seatbelt thing, like I said, we don't use it. We end up cutting into it anyways. This is not cut back as far as it needs to be yet, but I'm gonna cut this off and then straighten this area out, weld my plates underneath and on top to make it stronger, and tack all that in, clean all that up, and start forming the tubs. This second support area back here, I'm gonna cut it off the bottom, plate the top, cut it nice and straight. I got it all mapped out on the floor of the inside. Yeah, so the box Chevy, they said, I think 3 to 6 weeks on the frame, because the frame, like I said, is going pearl white. The black, you know, everybody, they got a big ass booth and all that shit set up for black, because they're spraying black, gloss black all the time. A lot of powder coat places, you know, main colors, but when you get into, you know, different colors, it could take a little bit longer. So I believe they did say 3 to 6 weeks. So, but that gives me time to get the tubs done, get the whole underbody cleaned, the whole underbody painted. The gas tank is going bye-bye because he's gonna do an aftermarket tank. This is a 89, so it was a fuel injected car, so the tank does have a pump in it, but that's not gonna hold up to what he's putting in it. So that's coming off of there. The rest of the bottom, I'll clean it all up. You know, I'll get the tubs in there first, clean up the bottom, paint it all, the tubs will match, all that. Inside here, you know, of course, you guys know I clean this shit off, the undercoating and all this, boom, boom. That'll all be cleaned up. No need to full tub it. I can tuck the shit out of it without full tubbing it. You can see the 28s that were on here before, rubbed, which were just a basic 5-inch lip, the same rim, and didn't have no narrow or nothing like that to it. So rubbed a little bit, and it had no anti-roll, no sway bar, no nothing on the back. So turning, boom. If I had to, I could do a notch in that inner tub, but I don't have to. Just like the gold car and TK's car, the gray car, and the Landau's, they tuck hard as hell, and it's not full tubbed, mini tub. So, all right, y'all. I was trying to think about what else. The gear set up right there on the floor to get up in there. So I'm gonna clean some stuff up, take the gear off the center, put the other gear on it, do the press of the bearing on the pinion, the new one, get the bar out of there, and start cleaning out the housing. And that's where we're at on everything. But yeah, the second that frame comes back, I'm gonna have it set up over here, jack stands and towels, all that, boom, and start bolting everything together. The rear end went, the steering arms went, the frame went. So we gotta get a gearbox, gotta get the body bushings. Like I said, this car was not originally supposed to come off the frame. I have had it, what, 4 or 5 months now. Other shit's been going on. I was waiting for brakes, and I finally just said, you know what, just send me that brake kit and I'll make it work. So this car has to run 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch spacer on the wheel for the wheel to clear the caliper, because the caliper's so big and it's a bare set. So now it's coming off the frame. It came off the frame, boom, I did the rest of the frame stuff, did more to the frame, and now I got to do the underbody stuff. So when it gets back, have all that shit ready, get this thing together so we can get out the door, go back to the streetcar headquarters so they can put the motor and all that in it, the driveline and all that. Yeah. And then I can definitely get some time in on the Oklahoma Cutlass. Again, the frame setup, bullshit, heavy tank building shit, compared to the 2x3 cross member. It's a little lighter. This is a little heavier piece right here, which I'm gonna build the frame rails out of. And again, 2x3. 2x3, I got another piece somewhere over there somewhere, or a couple short pieces. Might not be enough, but I know I explained it before. This is what they did, but I'm gonna cut and cap and make it square, cap it, make sure the body bushing, which is way up there, you still get to it from the bottom, but I'm gonna cut this, cap it, set it probably right in the middle of the distance of here, so the 3-inch will be, you know, but then I'll be able to weld on the top to that plate, so the plate that goes in here will be welded all the way around to that. Then when the 2x3 goes in here, it'll be welded to that. I can cap the outside of it, boom, do some, get it braced up real nice, because everything's gonna be right on this area. And then I can probably still do a tube cross member across there to tie into the ladder bar cross member, which is gonna help it. Well, we'll figure it out. I want it to be strong. But yeah. All right, y'all. Angle 10, better up. Give you guys a nice little video. Might add something to the end of it with this Skylark will be sitting good. Ass and to be tucked. I didn't get any pictures or video of it when it first got here. I'll have to get a picture or something from dude so that we can do a before and after. But I can have the ass end tucking hard. Like I said, you see how I went 2 inches. I went 2 inches narrower. Not saying that this rim really needed 2 inches narrower. This is a basic 5-inch lip. But like I said, they cut the car. The owner said he did it. He cut it, you know, the trim. And with it leaning so far, it was catching more or whatever. So I went 2 inches. So this one, the axle was 29 3/4. I'm at 27 3/4, so 2 inches. 2 inches. I grabbed a 1/2-inch spacer. I got 3-inch wheel studs on there. Boom. I grabbed a 1/2-inch spacer because it might need to just come off of there a little bit. But I can roll these edges in. But once I get the wheel on there, I'll figure out if it touches, I can get it off. So I'm possibly a 3/4. But here's the plus side to this, is that if he wants to go right to a 7-inch lip, he's gonna be able to bolt the 7-inch lip right on, and whatever spacer is on here, take the spacer off, bolt the wheel on, boom. So this car will be set for, is set for a 7-inch lip all day. So you can go right from a 5 to a 7. And then you know how that goes with the 3-piece wheels. All you gotta do is, what? The outer barrel? Oh, this one would be outer and inner barrels. Boom. You can always find somebody to buy the barrels. People are always cracking their wheels and shit. So then you can just buy the barrels, boom, switch them out one day, bolt them on. Doesn't need me to do it. Whoever's there, or if he wants me to do it, you bring it by me, I can do it. But not switch out the barrels. I don't touch that part. I'm talking about putting the wheels on the car and, you know, making sure it's shimmed right, or not shimmed, you know, take the shims off, wheel spacers off. Yeah. So, BANKROLL 2, bet it up, and I'm out. Appreciate y'all. Keep watching all them shorts. I got two warnings for my kid driving the. It had to be some Karens or something complaining about my shit, or I didn't put enough description in the description that my kid was at 4 or 5 years ago driving. Jordan's maroon Regal that said "Bet It Up Kustoms" across the back window. He was doing the burnouts in it with the stock wheels on it. Had a 6.0 LS in it, and you know my kid was small for his age back then. Now he's taller than me, but he's in the car doing the burnouts and everything. And somebody reported the video 2 weeks ago, and then another video yesterday or the day before. So it gave me 2 warnings, and how that works for YouTube. If you get 3 warnings in 90 days, you get a strike. If you get 3 strikes, they permanently delete your page. So I wouldn't have YouTube no more. But the strike rule works the same way. So if you get 1 warning, and not within the 90 days, 90 days is how far it goes. So you can't get another warning in 90 days. So if you did get another one, in 90 days, it would take 3 within 90 days. And mine was on child safety. I mean, I could fight it and say, oh yeah, he was 16, just young for his age, this and that, and he was supervised. But if I could just put it in the description that, you know, he was supervised under me of what he was doing, so, you know, nobody was in to get hurt, yada, 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 whatever. So anyways, I got 2 warnings in the last 2 weeks. I did a little class, a 7-question survey class deal, so that way they would take away one of the warnings. So anyways, all you Karens out there and all you people that know Karens, you guys gotta stop, man. Stop complaining about shit. If you ain't got nothing better to do in your life, I don't know, just stay in the house and, like, I don't know, find something to occupy your time. Stop worrying about people that are trying to do shit for their family and stuff, you know? We got a Karen around the block over here to be calling the police for my kid riding dirt bikes and shit. I think I said that before. But she sits out there on her phone. The sheriff, when he does show up, they're like, yeah, we just gotta sit here for a couple minutes, make our presence known, and then we'll leave. They don't care. This is unincorporated out here. But anyways. All right, y'all. BANKROLL 10, bet it up. Skylark, bet it up, shop shit. Box Chevy, frame off. The poor 77 with the big lot. My car. If my kid wasn't knocked out, look at this dude. Knocked out. He'd be like, whose car? Whose car? But yeah, one of these days. All right, y'all, Bankroll 10, bet it up. Peace. I'm out. What up, what up? Bankroll 10, bet it up. Up in the shiz out. Oh yeah. The twin turbo parts car 100K box. Like I said, that's what they say. That's what they say. 26s, that chameleon paint by PC, Player's Choice, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Sammy's was originally the one that did all the suspension stuff, I do believe. I mean, it was a while ago. Quick performance axles, to me, are bottom of the barrel and they fuck up anyways. So look at that, with 40 seconds in and I already cussed. So I don't know how that's gonna work with monetizing, but anyways, everything that I did. Changed the anti-roll to now it has the billet anti-roll. So it's got the stronger billet arms, got the fatter links, got the 1/2-inch bolts, the bigger brackets on the car side. Well, the other one's under the bench over there, but I showed it in the other video how it was broke. Where they had the lower control arm mount, it overlapped the end. So it would have been a pain in the ass to cut it and get in there to weld the end on. The measurement was a little off, but whatever, shit happens. I corrected it. Put the super drop boxes on here. You know, I love the super drop boxes. Gives you all that adjustment. 15 holes of adjustment. This car is 6s and it squats down. The calipers, this one's in okay shape, but as you can see, it busted the bleeder, tapped into here because the housing end wasn't clocked enough and this car squats hard. So the caliper was beating into the frame. So as you can see, I took the frame and I welded it in. I didn't do it perfect, but you know, it was dent. I mean, there was big ass dents. I got pictures of this side and the other side, but that's just, it's not even that far of a divot. But anyways, there was 2 big ass dents on this side, nasty. So as you can see, the little grind marks inside there. I ground it all up, cleaned it up, welded inside there. Then I polished my weld off, boom. So it would clean the frame up. And as you can see, the paint that's on the frame, there was some dirt up there, the way it was cracked a little bit, something. But these rotors, as you can see, they were shimmed wrong the first time, and then the second time, and these rotors have had it. So I'm making a list of everything that needs to be really replaced on this thing. So we got the new housing ends on there, which take the inner seal, and then the axle has the O-ring seal on it. So we got 2 seals right there. The other ends right here. So you had, this was the driver, let's see, no, this one was the passenger side one. So they had a seal in the passenger side one. This is the driver's one. So you can see how the bearing broke, and then the axle was riding on there, but there was no seal in here. And the way that they cut it thin. So like I said, I think the rear end was ordered one length, and then they changed it to a different length. Again, maybe it went somewhere else after that, I don't know. So yeah, clock the calipers down. I actually put the stickers on the axles, which, I mean, you guys can see them studs are, well, I put the rotor on there and it was grabbing a little bit, but brand new axles, you can see right there, brand new axles, Moser axles, they're on there, boxes right there. The old axles, what they did, like I said, the flanges are all beat up. This is the axle, the bearing went off. You can see the heat marks in the axle. The axle got real hot. The axle flange itself, look at that, is warped, and look at the studs. They're all twisted, all different ways. So that means there was a very lot of heat in that axle. 35 spline, boom. This axle, again, was too long. I went through the center section into the other side. Now I grease checked it, stuck the axle in there. This side went in 1.5 inches into the splines. That side over there, or excuse me, I think more like 1.25 inches. Maybe it was 1.5 inches. I should write this shit down. And that side is in like 1.1 inches. But they don't click. I put one axle in, took the tape measure, went all the way through, grabbed the splines, that little bit of gap that's in between there, and I pushed the tape back and forth, and you could tell there was at least 1/2 inch of gap in between the axles. Took this axle back out, put that axle in, vice versa. Put the tape measure in there, measured it, bam. Then I measured from the end of the axle to the bearing plate, which is how it locks in right there. And I measured that to see where my numbers were, and then the overall number, and it all came out with basically 1/2 inch clearance in between both axles. Pinion offset, a lot of guys don't understand that. Pinion offset, you can have 1 inch pinion offset, 2 inch pinion offset. The pinion is always to the passenger side of the car. Obviously, think about this. When the drive shaft goes in, it doesn't go to the center. It goes, boom. 9 inches have a 2 inch, 1 inch, 3 inch, whatever. Offset, this and that. So depending on how you order your rear end, an axle is gonna have either a 2 inch measurement different per side or a 1 inch measurement different per side, meaning the one side's longer than the other side, or maybe it's 2 and 3. But you should always check your axles, put them in the housing. If you're set up like that in a 9 inch and you got the plate that goes on the, without this nugget in here, you would bolt the plate on there and it's got a center line to it. And you'll put the axle in, see where the axle ends up, put the other axle in, see where it ends up. And then if you need to narrow from there, whatever you take off the housing, so let's say you ordered the housing at 58 inches, they gave you the axles. That's what I got going on over there. Axles, 58 inches. So you measure that left axle is longer than left axle. See what the number is. You'll see it's probably, I think, a 5/8 gap in between the axles is what it's supposed to be. So then if you take off 2 inches off the housing on that side, you take off 2 inches off the housing on that side, you would take 2 inches off of both axles. And you'd be right back at how they sent it to you. Quick performance, to me, it, like, again, bottom of the barrel, you know, some of the stuff works, some of the stuff doesn't. I don't know. It's just my personal opinion and what I've seen come through my shop. Look here, guys. That's the back frame. Out of the Cutlass. Got it cut out. Got the 2x3 cross member right there. Got the piece of 2x3 right there to start making the frame rails. Had a couple more pieces behind the gas tank over there. But yeah. Gotta clean all this up, plate it, figure out how I'm gonna do it all. Make the ladder bar cross member go straight across. I'm probably gonna keep it higher to the top, or I might go to the bottom. Yeah, I'll go to the bottom maybe. Maybe I'll go to the top. I don't know. I haven't figured it. Or maybe I'll cut this off, plate it, and then set it in the center. Then I could plate it again and again and plate the bottom like they did here. But I think this was just to move the car. But I'll get this shit all cleaned up, cut off of there, and keep it right to where the body mount hole is. Do all the fabricating from there. But yeah, this is gonna get cut up, used for table material or something. That rear end is junk, 7.5. Junk. Well, that one's junk. They cut the ears off it. I don't know what the hell kind of suspension they were trying to put in it. A 4-link or something. I don't know. Yeah, so there were some other things I was gonna say about this car, but I did everything. Got to readjust the lower control arms yet. Square up the rear end. It's pretty square. I was gonna do a brace. I wasn't sure about the undermount, but I didn't have a tube here, 1.25 inches, but later I'll do it. How I do my arched brace across there. This car needs a ladder bar cross member in it because it's a turbo car. It's got a lot of torque. You can see this one right here. This is the torque box, and it's pushed up. I can't even get my fingers up in there. On this side, fit my whole hand up in here. And it's the driver's side that always does the most, because the driver's side is the one that's got the most of the torque pushing up. So ladder bar cross member, crossed here, boom. You know, put the two side rails in it, straighten out these frame, bend this down. Any of you guys got this, you wanna fix that, take a crescent wrench, put a crescent wrench in here and just bend it down, bend it down, bend it down, bend it down, bend it down. And then if you go too far in some spots, you can hold it with maybe the crescent wrench, or just tap those other pieces back, flex it a little bit, it'll come back down. But that's from people jacking up cars. Same here, gotta do it there. But I'll put the two braces in there, put a ladder bar cross member there, come off the ladder bar cross member, go into here, and of course, you know, do the circle here and go into the frame here. So it ties all the torque boxes together. This caliper over here took a beating because on the bearing, you can't see it from this angle. Well, you can see that it's from not being clocked enough and hitting the frame. Same thing on this side. I had to clean the frame up, grind it, weld it, clean it up, make it look like it wasn't hit. Clock the rotors down a lot, calipers I mean. This rotor is abused. You can see right there how the inside edge is, because it was grinding on the inside of the housing when the bearing was broke, so it was pushing all the way up here. The only thing that was holding the axle in was the caliper. So the caliper took a lot of abuse on one section here. It's real bad, right in there somewhere, to where it's like to the center. So it might start leaking, but of course, like I said, I'm gonna tell them what's all wrong and this and that, what needs to be replaced, and yeah. So, Bankroll 10 batted up. Again, try to give you guys as much information as possible. This thing, went to go get some gear. My son went to go get some gear lube so we can put the gear lube in it, because I got everything sealed up now. I'm about to clean the drain plug off, put the drain plug in it, put a little silicone around the threads, boom. Put that in it, get this other wheel on here real fast, square up the rear end, jam the lower control arms, lock them and tighten up the anti-roll links, and this baby will be ready to put down. All right, y'all, Bankroll 10 batted up. Yeah, that's it. I'm outies. Appreciate y'all.